To the point where somebody at University of Education in Winneba says, no, our index numbers don't look like this. How did you people arrive at this corner? Hey, a Kenyan called Kwame Donko. This is a Kasongo.
Emmanuel Mutio.
Yeah. It was a human resources manager at I3 Technologies.
In Kenya.
Which school was he posted to? University for Development Studies. A course of study as well, Bachelor of Arts. He doesn't even live here with us.
See the Kasongo.
Kasongo, yeah. Hey, we have done so in this country. How they do it? Hundreds, in fact, thousands of fake index numbers assigned to universities. And UW says our index numbers don't look like that. They do. So one of the fake index numbers, original index numbers, for example, we have 20, 21, 04, 003, and 20, 21, 11, 345, 20, 30, 32, 31, 54, 0049, and there's another 20, 21, 37, 665. Now, Crosby, tell me about the fake index numbers.
The fake index numbers, they are like Ghana card numbers. There's one that is VL090 slash 000 capital T slash 093.
This James Bond number.
The Ghana card number, no, the fake index number, that looks like Ghana card number. 3907 GHA.
It's the one that freaks me. BBS
slash
edu.gh. BBS. Hey, we live in a country called Ghana. How would you feel if you had this? So there's also, so that's UEW, and then there's KNUST, also fake ID. Now this one also sounds like Ghana card. It looks like Ghana. 3916 GHA stroke 71444 8344 stroke 5. It makes it legitimate when you put the GHA in there. No? You understand? Because when you put the GHA in there, no? So this one is from Ghana. We know you. But meanwhile, the guys from Kenya, Kasongo. You understand? Then show us the other one, Kuzo. UDS. UDS index numbers are more dangerous.
Look at the EST.
EST established EST stroke 0104 stroke OS. Operating system. Established.
For iPhone. They should have added I so that it's for iPhone.
So the original index numbers are for Bachelor of Education, Basic Education, right? There's a BA, Development Education, and there's BSc Nursing. So those are the official index numbers. Instead of there's DES, but we will change it to EST, yeah, for special reasons. Show us the other one. Hey, so people, hey, UPSA, Dunbar College, Valley View, Tamale Technical University, the other universities that were assigned fake index numbers. Hey, if we show everything now, what will we show tomorrow? Let's wait. Look, Alexander Kwame Afenyo Marking is the MP for Futu. He's a minority leader. Not the minority leader.
Mighty minority.
Yeah, he has a new name. He's attached the title.
Osahim, yeah.
And is asking everybody to refer to him as such.
Kwame Afenyo Marking from Futu.
But do you know where that came from, though?
Osahim is Warrior King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he came from his constituency, the traditional leaders.
Yes. Okay. Osahim is Warrior King. So he's there. He was there yesterday. See the Chinese behind. They are coming in their numbers, but they are not Galamseyas. That we know for sure. Okay.
We are a country. The understanding basically is that we are a country of rule of law, and there should be no such Rambo-style approach to arrests and all. I'm aware that Gifty arrived this afternoon. I've been in touch with her. She's here in Ghana. She arrived this afternoon. Her lawyers are in touch with the National Investigation Bureau, and I'm sure that she's going to make herself available, and then whatever the state investigation authorities have, they would have to pursue within due process of law. I do not think that.
There's witch hunting going on.
Well, I would not rush in drawing certain conclusions. My view is that MPP is not against accountability, me inclusive. We've been in public service, we are out of office. Obviously, if the new government needs former officials to explain certain matters in one way or the other, it's within their right to pursue such. And if it means investigating, there should be no problem. What is important is to follow that due process. And once due process is being followed, why not? I mean, after all, once you get into public office, you must all be mindful that...
Did it take a lot of convincing to bring her back into the country?
No, the person was not running out. She was on holiday. You know, this era of social media, and even some people were saying that there is some whatever. I don't want to get it wrong. You know, this thing where they put travel embargo on her. There were all manner of rumors, but she came. All right, she came when she boarded. She told me she came. She got to the airport. She went through the immigration processes, and then she's home now.
Was this?
She's been questioned.
No. Nobody harassed her, in all fairness. And that's what I'm saying, that sometimes the social media thing, people say all manner of things. But as far as I'm concerned, she hasn't been harassed by any state authority. No, she hasn't even been to the NIB office.
So she's on her own at the moment?
From the lawyers that, well, she needs to provide some answers.
Listen to me. If I'm having patience for you, so let's set the right tone. I'm saying that she did not run away from the jurisdiction. She had traveled out. She traveled out freely. She came back to Ghana. She's entered the country freely. However, the NIB officials reached out to me and that they needed her. They also reached out to her lawyers, and the lawyers have been in that discussions with them. Today, she's in town. She will make herself available. Whatever that they have to ask of her, I'm sure she'll be able to deal with it. And I'm saying that nobody has harassed her as far as I'm concerned, because I've been following, engaging her, and so far, nobody has harassed her. So let's forget about all these social media things and all that.
Because she's on the oral list.
I have told the officials that they can reach out to some of us. Sometimes this whole Rambo style thing, it doesn't help.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM. FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station. Sunrise on 3FM, the best in the morning.
Kumado is a fraud and security analyst. Is joining us on the phone along with Adam Senanu, a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Let me begin with you, Adam. So we've been chasing money. We're told that ghost names, according to the Fourth Estate, published with evidence, the schools have given us indication that some of the index numbers that were used were fraudulent and fake and all of that. From where you sit as a co-chair of Citizens Movements Against Corruption, what do you think of this matter?
I think that the Fourth Estate has done us a favor, a national favor, by highlighting these issues. In this day and age, with the kind of technology available, it is shocking to have this kind of data showing that fake IDs running into thousands, where we know that every university has standard formats in terms of the alphabets, the numbers, how they are positioned. And I would assume that worst case scenario, they would have had a benchmark or reference data they would be using to cross-check and do due diligence on these persons. And the diversity, when you even talk about overaged people above 70 to 90, how could that happen? And you have foreigners whose details are in our system. We have persons who say their data has been used and have threatened to sue. These are very serious matters. And I think that it's a plus for investigative journalism. I know they first petitioned the OSP. Right. I'm interested in finding out what has transpired so far before the NIB is supposed to have taken over. But these are very more important issues when at the time that this country needs all the resources it can get.
Mr. Kumado, let me bring you into the conversation. You have served with the colors before. What usually is the standard operating procedure? Somebody who is a person of interest in a matter of corruption. We saw the minority leader go to welcome the person in question at the airport. She would confidently spoke with the media, more like a celebrity welcome. But is that how the BNI people are supposed to do their work?
Definitely not. And this morning I'm raising the issues. I'm raising the questions on social media. Who in the BNI spoke to the minority leader? And what was the content of their conversation? And who in the BNI spoke to the minority leader again and said, you can get to me before you get to somebody who has questions to answer in a crime case? Who is in the BNI that the minority leader has spoken to and said, you guys should avoid the Rambo style of arresting people and avoid social media and then get to some of us? I think somebody in the BNI did the wrong thing. If what the minority leader is saying is true, the minority leader claimed that she was contacted and the lawyers of Madam Gifty was contacted. Yesterday I was on a program with her lawyers and he was saying something different. On the contrary, I think they are making her case worse for her, and I think they need to look at it again. Why the BNI shouldn't speak to Afenyomakin, who is a minority leader? The woman in question, who has questions to be answered by the BNI, according to what we are hearing, is not a parliamentarian.
That's right.
Afenyomakin is not representing the woman as a lawyer. So in which capacity was Afenyomakin as a minority leader speaking publicly about a criminal case or about an investigation case where a woman has just landed in the country was doing? It means that something is not right. And for many of the things they are saying in the public domain, I think they are getting it wrong. Let me say this. When the BNI serve a notice, publicly or privately, of an investigation case and your name pops out, at that moment you have not been charged. So you are a subject of investigation.
That's right.
Or a subject of national interest.
That's right.
And not a suspect until you have been charged. So they have three options, particularly when you are out of the jurisdiction or during the investigation, you move out of the jurisdiction. One is to invoke international protocols with the country you are in. And if we have extradition arrangement with the country, you could be arrested and brought back to answer some questions. Number two, the BNI have an option to say that at any point of entry, whether at the port or whatever route you use, once you enter the country, you can be arrested. The BNI did not deploy these two options at their disposal. The third option is that once you have become a person of public interest, in the case of Madam Gifty and the role she played in the national service, and your name pops out, left, right, center, and it's all over the place, you are obliged, or it will be in your best interest, to walk to the BNI officers and say, which investigators are behind this case or are on this particular case? Here I am, and I'm ready to answer some questions. If you do not do that, the BNI will come and arrest you for questioning. So you realize that Afenyomakin is saying that she's in the country and she will make herself available to the BNI. At another point when they said she has not been invited, Johnny, BNI do not need to invite people or serve notice. Once you have become a subject of crime interest, they may arrest you or search your premises any day, anytime, with or without warrant. And that is the standard procedure.
I see. Mr. Senator, let me come to you and ask you now that what kind of signal does this investigation and the going matters, set for us? Because we're looking for money. If monies are found, there are ways into people's pockets where they shouldn't be going. We should be looking for the money, not just finding one person to jail or the other. How do we go around this clock?
And I align with you ultimately because a good understanding of this issue, there's no way a single individual could, organize this and, as it were, undermine our system to the extent that you have thousands of names that have no actual credibility and the money. You have to involve many more people than just people at the level. And to that extent, therefore, the data that the Fourth Estate has uncovered, you need to go in and try and establish the data entry protocols. Those who have, and usually you have security measures. That's right. This level, only this person can enter. This person monitors or cross-checks. There will have to be the validation and due diligence of that data. There cannot be a situation where you are people and not very people are real or not. Who is responsible for that? So really, they have to get into it. I know that front-end data, this back-end data, somebody managed to access. Now you have to find out what are the standards administratively, from which desk to which desk, how the approvals done, whose responsibility was it to cross-check, who signed off without checking that the due diligence had been done, so that everybody who has been part of this process can be held accountable. And these are the actions that we are expecting, whichever agency is investigating.
Richard, step in for me. Now, we know that Giftawari is in town. We know that the accountant was arrested. We know Professor Ameya Kofi, some others have been picked up. But then we have not heard anything more. Should the Ghanaian public set their hearts at rest, or should we be worried that we heard the hue and cry and then after a few days everything is gone down and it's okay? Should we be worried?
There are two issues involved. In this particular case, the nature of the case shows that the investigators on this case from the BNI will be using both quantitative and qualitative investigative models. They'll be looking to establish negligence. They'll be looking to establish human error and deliberate omissions. They'll be looking to see circumvention of procedure, and they'll be looking to see whether the processes have been contravened, and they'll be looking to see management overriding role and what has been the decision outcome, some of which my brother Senanu has listed already. And because it's not all outcomes of investigations that lead to prosecution, but particularly when prosecution is on the table, the outlines is different. You could retrieve the money, or some could end up in disciplinary decisions. It depends on what it is. But the second point I want to make is that when I was working in the BNI recruits some of the best lawyers in this country, and they go to court and they win cases. Johnny, it's a problem when prosecutors are not closer to the investigators and what happens in court. Because before you go to court, you have two things in mind: admissible evidence and inadmissible evidence. And you have 48 hours rule. And this Attorney General said, we will not put anybody to court or at court to a judge when we do not have the evidence. If they want to go beyond the 48 hours, they know what to do. What the point I'm making is that once the prosecutors are no closer to the investigators, they need to look at the switch again. Other than that, the standard procedure is that you have investigation on your left-hand side and you have prosecutions or prosecutors on your right-hand side. If they are able to match whatever they have as crime evidence against whoever have questions to answer in a crime investigation, if they're able to match it properly, it makes life easier. Other than that, the defense could put up a show and that could drag it forward. Once it is being dragged, then the general public cannot have peace and they cannot say that the job has been done properly. Particularly when there are huge evidence available, you need to package it properly. Right. The investigators need to put it up properly, and that is where the job is. If they are able to do it properly and the prosecutors have the momentum to go to court and stand on their feet to prosecute, then the general public can say that our monies have been retrieved and people are being punished. And that is the way it must go. Other than that, we have a long way to go in this country.
I'll go to Adam in a bit, but let me ask you, we put in a very stringent measure, very watertight to say we're doing biometrics, we do head counts, etc. How then did ghosts appear in all of this?
So every system you see comes with inherited vulnerabilities. And so that is one. And in this particular case, from what the Fourth Estate did, you could see that managers override the standard entry for some other people who do not have protocol standardizations to enter into the system. And particularly when we are talking about payroll fraud, they created certain names that were off balance and they push it through. So from what Sedanu said, you can understand that National Service Secretariat is a government agency. And when they produce a name to be paid, they will issue what payment voucher or invoice to Ghana government. Why didn't somebody at the payment side also check? Even if the fraud is committed from the district to the region to the national, biometrically, they could have also picked up the red flag for reconciliation purposes at the payment side. And they did not do that. So I agree with my brother Senonu 100% that the chain of command and the laxity we have seen, 4 things have come to being. Managers override the standard protocols. People who have IT access to the place were negligent. And number 3, there were deliberate omissions, and human error was what they used. And that is why in these investigations, they are not just looking for whether you have stolen money, but they are also looking for the role you play, passively or actively, and what were the decision outcomes, and what has been your due diligence and your duty of care if the state is your father's or mother's business. And that is the nature of this particular investigation.
And I mean, wrapping up, the President of the Republic at the State or Nation Address mentioned that he has directed the corporates be declared wanted and that their assets be frozen. That has not happened. How soon should we be doing that so that it sends a signal to those who may be thinking along those same lines?
As soon as yesterday, to the extent that the investigation has highlighted the level of culpability of involvement of certain persons. So that is why it is of interest to find out how far has the NIB gone or how far has the OSP gone. Because really what you want to do is to, as quickly as possible, identify those material responsibility, various checks, and for the data that has been compromised, who was responsible? Because immediately we know that these are the persons who could be tagged, and you must show that whatever resources are available, you begin to freeze. You know, obviously, it's to the extent that when we finish, we identify that you are culpable or not, and then you are released. But as soon as yesterday, these things should have happened so that we don't have the situation where persons disappear or there's a flight of the resources that may be still sitting around in some accounts.
Adam Senanu, I'm grateful that you spent your breakfast time with us this morning. He's a co-chair of Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Rachel, let me come to you in closing and ask you, the BNI, in the eyes of the public, really blew hot air and they decided to literally go and sleep. I don't know how they work. I won't pretend to know, but clearly the public is not excited about how things are turning up. Minority leader says the Rambo style thing will not help, but what will help in closing? What will you tell us?
No, it's due diligence and the capabilities of officers of the BNI to demonstrate that they are professionals. And in doing so, their conduct and actions will need to be speaking. And putting up a show of that nature and speaking to the minority leader, I think they brought in politics, and the politicians have dug the space. And that is why the general public is not too happy with them. I know they've struggled over the years in getting results because of ineffectiveness of investigators they have, and people are armchair. They have never developed capacity. With a new director in place, my big brother Chaskipo, I hope he's reading the lines, and I hope he's listening to the conversations. And I think they will need to do more than just speaking to politicians. And whoever is behind this, who they suffer and did whatever they did, and the minority leader has access to be speaking for the BNI. I think it is shameful. They need to bow their heads in shame, and they need to rise up to the occasion and do what is right and what is appropriate in the eyes of the general public. Other than that, the stakes are too high, and they cannot afford to fail the Ghana for the first time or for the very long time in the very first time, because there's new leadership in place, and the expectations from them is very high. And I'm so much confident in some of them that once they put the right people at the right places, some of these things could be nailed in the bud.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Kumado is a fraud and security analyst joining us here to spend this morning with us. We're grateful. And let's go to Parliament, the State of the Nation address. Here's what President Mahama said about this National Service Scheme scandal.
Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished. It is estimated that the criminal addition of some more than 80,000 ghost names could have yielded the suspects over 50 million Ghana cedis every month. Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted and their assets traced and frozen until investigations are completed.
Sunrise on 3FM, the best in the morning.
So, Fro, Yami, so wow. If your name has been mentioned, pet, you have to be crying to your Lord.